A roof made with 3 tons of gold turns out to be the least valuable part of the Potala Palace. But 1300 years ago, there wasn't even a single brick or tile here, just a steep, barren mountain. You stack up stone walls here, preparing to build a palace in the sky. But the mountaintop is uneven, and the walls keep collapsing, giving you a headache. If only you could level the summit. Just as you're worrying, your eyes fall on the exposed rock, and suddenly you get an idea. You follow the natural contours of the mountain, carving grooves into the rock, then bring in the hardest local granite, wedging it into the cracks so the stones take firm root in the mountain. You then build straight, towering walls on top. But before the wall is finished, an earthquake knocks it down. Experienced as you are, you stay calm. When rebuilding, every few layers you lay long stones vertically through the wall, locking the inner and outer stones together to prevent them from falling apart. You also deliberately shape the wall into a trapezoid, wider at the base and narrower at the top, lowering the center of gravity and making it more stable. Even so, drastic temperature differences and frequent earthquakes still cause the stones to shift. But you quickly come up with another ingenious solution. You carve small pits on the top and bottom of each stone, and a shallow groove on the side. Then you stack the stones layer by layer, forming a continuous channel. Next, you heat the channel and surrounding stones with charcoal and pour in iron rods heated to 1,500 degrees Celsius. Once cooled, the iron acts like modern rebar, firmly binding the stones together. After that, you seal the gaps with specially made clay, completing the stone walls. They crisscross and form independent grid-like compartments. This is the core foundation structure, which you call the earth cage. But since the earth cage is a suspended structure, you can't build directly on it. So you place thick wooden beams across the top, covered them with planks, and sealed everything. To prevent the wood from warping or leaking, you added a layer of crushed stones and compacted them tightly with clay. In this way, you turned the steep slope into a flat, solid floor. You continued building stone walls upward using the same methods. But the higher you went, the heavier the top became, making it unstable again. To reduce the weight, you used local white horse grass, tied it in bundles, and stacked it on top of the walls. You added a curved protective cap on top to keep rain from damaging it. The walls were still rough, so you polished them using a special mud mixed with milk and oil, then painted them with mineral colors. To show your power and status, you expanded the palace and built 7 magnificent golden roofs. Congratulations, you have invented the Potala Palace. The 7 golden roofs may be dazzling, but they are merely decoration. The truly priceless treasure lies in the ingenious techniques hidden within the mountain stone itself. Build a simple grass hut in a field and you've created a basic shelter. Fix it up a bit and it becomes a simple house. This is called a hostel or dorm. If you fence the land around it, you get a yard. The open space in front of the main house is called a ting. In ancient times, most poor people lived in such simple homes. Soon, you make money and move into a solid brick house with a nicer yard. But as your family grows, the house becomes too small, so you expand it. The buildings form a square layout. This is a Siheyuan courtyard house. At this stage, your home is called a Zhai residence. As you keep expanding, you build 2 courtyards, Erjin, or even 3, Sanjin. Now it's a large mansion. The buildings inside are called Fang. At the back is the rear house, usually for women. In front of it is the main house with 3 rooms, the central hall for guests and family meetings, a study on the west, and the master's bedroom on the east. This is why the owner is called the landlord. On both sides of the main house are small side rooms called ear rooms, used for storage or toilets. A passage connects to the backyard. In front are the east and west side houses. Small attached rooms serve as kitchen and toilet. Covered walkways connect everything. These are corridors. This forms the inner courtyard. The gate in front is called the Hanging Flower Gate. Passing through it leads to the outer courtyard. The street-facing buildings are front houses, and the main entrance is the gatehouse. For most people, this is already a great home. But you go further. You expand into a huge mansion with 5 courtyards and a garden, called a DI, official residence, usually for high-ranking officials. The main courtyard is for your family, and others are for servants. There are 4 gates, and the main gate is only for the owner and honored guests. Then, you become a prince. Your residence upgrades to a few prince's mansion, with green glazed roof tiles. Finally, you become emperor. Your living place is called a gong, palace, and some buildings are called dian, halls, for work. Now your home is the highest level in China, so large it's like a city. You name it the Forbidden City. The ancients relied on just one mountain city to withstand the assault of over 100,000 Mongol troops. How on earth did they manage it? At first you were tired of wandering from place to place and decided to settle down at the strategic junction where 3 rivers meet. You set up camp, cleared land for farming, dug wells, and created everything needed for daily life. As more and more people came seeking peace and stability, the simple huts could no longer hold everyone. So you began building rows of new houses and expanding the farmland on a large scale. Before long, this mountain stronghold transformed into a peaceful paradise, away from the chaos of the world. To connect the city with the outside for trade, you carved daring plank roads along the steep cliffs, built stone stairways up and down the mountain, and constructed a bustling wharf by the riverbank. Such a happy and prosperous life, however, inevitably attracted ferocious bandits eager to seize it. As the lord of the city, you built a towering gate at the only entrance and exit route and named it the Protect the Kingdom Gate. With this strong barrier, you easily repelled wave after wave of aggressive bandits. But times were turbulent. Soon the mighty Mongol cavalry also set their sights on conquering this fortress. Determined not to let the innocent civilians fall into enemy hands, the clever you constructed 2 layers of defensive walls between the inner and outer city. The outer wall featured 8 massive gates, heavily guarded by soldiers and equipped with powerful stone-throwing machines. Taking full advantage of the city's steep and dangerous terrain, defenders could easily drive back any attackers. To prevent the enemy from landing at the wharf, you stationed heavy troops there as well. Whenever Mongol forces tried to cross the river by boat, they would be met with a fierce head-on assault. Yet what if the enemy chose to surround the city without attacking and simply cut off all trade routes? That problem didn't stump you either. You built a massive heavenly pool inside the outer city and stocked it with abundant fish and shrimp. This perfectly solved the city's long-term food supply needs, leaving the vast Mongol army helpless and forced to retreat in frustration. Congratulations, my friend. You have successfully built the Diaoyu city of Chongqing. This remarkable Song Dynasty mountain fortress combined offense and defense, integrated water and land strategies, and featured multiple layers of deep defensive systems. If you were given an army of 10,000, could you capture the city before you? You might think it's just a simple cross-shaped layout, but in fact every part of it hides deadly traps. Take this city gate for example. From a distance it looks ordinary, but as you approach, you'll find the entrance isn't on the front. It's unusually placed on the side. This means when enemies attack, the crossfire from both sides can inflict massive casualties. Even more formidable, this side-opening gate, combined with a moat running tightly along the wall, forms a special S-shaped bend. At its narrowest point, the bend is only about 3 meters wide, so when enemy siege vehicles enter, they get stuck and cannot reach the gate. In the end, soldiers can only try to break in by force. What's worse, this gate is actually just the outer gate. When the enemy finally breaks through, they'll despair to find the real gate completely intact. At that moment, the soldiers on the walls will give them a grand welcome with arrows. If you choose to abandon the gate and attack the walls instead, then congratulations. You've made another wrong choice. First, there's the moat, 30 to 40 meters wide and over 3 meters deep, enough to firmly block siege equipment. To get close to the walls, soldiers must brave a rain of arrows and build a causeway by force, which alone would cost heavy losses. More deadly still, every outer corner of the city has protruding bastions. Working together with the L-shaped walls, once enemies approach the corners, they are struck head-on by falling stones and rolling logs, while also being shot from behind by arrows from the walls, impossible to defend against. And the terror of this city goes far beyond its external defenses. Its interior is just as solid. The entire city is crossed by a grid of main roads, and a rampart road runs along the walls, allowing troops to respond quickly wherever reinforcements are needed. Moreover, most buildings inside the city are made of rammed earth, making any attempt to burn it down nothing but wishful thinking. It can be said that from outside to inside, this city has not a single flaw. To capture it would inevitably come at a tremendous cost. In the end, congratulations. You have created a fortress that could stand for 1,000 years. If you ask what gave Qin Shi Huang the power to unify 6 states, this pass right here was his biggest trump card. Look at the terrain. It's built at the mouth of a natural canyon. On both sides, cliffs rise 70 to 80 meters. The path at the canyon floor is just 2 to 3 meters wide at its narrowest. That terrain means even if enemies breach the gate, they couldn't rush through the canyon. But defenders could fall back along the ridges on both sides. From there, they'd rain logs, rocks, and arrows on the enemies below. The whole canyon turned into a road to hell. Beyond terrain, the fortress itself had walls nearly 10 meters high, plus loads of towers and flanking bastions. With those defenses, plus a 7 to 8 kilometer death canyon behind, no enemy force could push into your heartland, unless your own troops broke first. But that's not the whole defense. In front of the gate flowed the Hongnong River, over 100 meters wide. This river was a natural moat. It gave defenders endless water. It also made enemy siege engines useless. The only way across? Ferry soldiers in small boats. Yet the open ground before the gate could only hold 2,000 to 3,000 men fighting at once. So no matter how huge the enemy army, they were forced into the worst tactic, feeding troops in piecemeal against tens of thousands of defenders. that was nothing. Sure, you could choose to besiege without attacking to wear them down, but behind the pass lay the Guangzhong heartland. As long as nothing went wrong, defenders got endless grain from the court. Own this pass, and you owned strategic confidence. You could attack or retreat and hold. With all that, congratulations, buddy. You've just understood a super fortress that changed Chinese history, Hanggu Pass. Hanggu Pass sits on the only road from the Central Plains into Guangzhong. Behind it rises the Chiusang Plateau. To the left runs the Qinling Mountains for hundreds of kilometers. And infuriatingly, to the right flows the raging Yellow River. With these three natural barriers, Hanggu Pass firmly guarded the eastern gateway of the Qin state.